This is Personal Injury Court.
This is the matter of Griffin versus the Carters. Mr. Griffin, it's my understanding from the documents that you submitted to this court that you sustained some fairly serious injuries when you fell out of a tree while you were trimming this tree on the Carters' property. Your documents indicate that you have $150,000 in past medicals, you're seeking $100,000 in future medicals, and you want this court to award you $250,000 for pain and suffering for a total of $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. and Mrs. Carter.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's my understanding from what you all have submitted to this court, y'all believe that he got injuries from being a tree trimmer and that it's not your fault, although it happened on your property.
Correct.
Exactly.
But this is his fault.
It is his fault.
It's his job.
All right. So, folks, I've reviewed the documents that you've submitted to this court. Now, let's get into the legal sauce. Now, Mr. Griffin, my understanding is that you're a tree trimmer, right?
That's accurate.
Tell me what that entails.
Well, first, let me give you a little bit of backstory. I served in the military for 6 years.
And thank you for your service.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure. Got out in 2004. I've been a gardener for about 9 years. I really enjoy it because, you know, beautifying somebody's lawn, bringing them joy and something like that, that's just things that I really feel rewarded for.
Is it fair to say you know what you're doing as a gardener?
I would like to think so after 9 years, sir.
Okay. Now, you've done some work for the Carters before?
I have. For about 5 years, I've been doing work on and off. My cousin Dwayne here, he helps me out whenever we're doing any area work or any bigger jobs.
Okay, what were you supposed to do?
What was I supposed to do? I was basically supposed to go up this tree, trim it down for a party that they have coming up. And yeah, that's when I got attacked by Splinter and his two cousins.
Now, you've trimmed trees before, right?
Absolutely.
You've trimmed tall trees before.
I have.
So this wasn't a new task for you?
No.
Mr. and Mrs. Carter, this incident happened on your property, didn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you all were planning a party of some sort. Tell me about that.
So I've been an investment banker for about 20 years.
Yes, sir.
I retired early because I wasn't spending enough time at my lovely life or a beautiful property. We're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary. And
congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate that. And she really wanted things perfect. And I said, you know what, money's no object. You do what you need to do to get this place up right.
We've had Scott come over many times. He's worked 5 years for us and always done a professional job.
Now, this is your property, right?
Yes.
Y'all done pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, we feel like we have.
This was going to be a big soiree, huh?
It
yes,
sure was.
75 people.
So, Mr. Griffin, you understand what you were supposed to do as to
Absolutely, Your
trimming
Honor.
the trees, right?
I've done it before for him. I've done it before for other properties.
Tell me how you got hurt as a tree trimmer.
All right, well, we got started setting up. Every time we do a setup, we always go through preventive maintenance.
What's that entail, the preventive
Basically, we inspect all of the mechanical components. We inspect all the ropes for frays, tears, or anything like that. We check our harnesses.
And how'd you fall?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Anyhow, he's responsible for setting the top and the lower portions of the mechanism.
And your cousin was there with you that day?
That's accurate.
Okay.
So he sets it up, I put on the harness, shimmy up there. I'm starting to do, remove these leaves with the chainsaw that I have. It's just a little small chainsaw.
So you got a little chainsaw.
A little bitty one. Yeah.
And what are you pulling off? Are they branches? What are they?
It's basically the palm leaves. I climb up there, I start pulling back some of the brush that's up in there, and next thing you know, I've got this swarm of rats that start coming at me because I guess I started, messing with their nest or whatever the heck it was.
They came out of the tree?
Yeah, they started flying at me, started clawing me.
Oh, man.
All kinds of other crap.
That gets, snakes and rats are my thing.
Well, yeah, so
makes my skin crawl.
Nothing prepares you for nutri-rats coming at your face.
Now, Mr. Griffin, you actually submitted a video to this court of the actual rat encounter.
That's accurate.
Let's take a look at it. You are there and trying to pull away.
Right, I am pulling away some of the brush like I mentioned before.
Now, what's that?
That is actually one of the rats. There's one right there. Okay. So that rat comes over and that's actually jumping on me, and there's actually more in there about to jump on me as well.
And they eventually get on you.
Yeah, they were on me. They were on me in my shirt, biting my chest, which I have additional photos of.
Yeah, you did submit some of those to the court.
I actually have them right here if you need to see them, Your Honor.
Matt, please get the photo.
I mean, there's other images in here that show the other injuries that I sustained during the process.
So what are we looking at here?
This right here is basically some of the claw marks that were on my arm. If you go to the next one, you'll look at some of the bite marks on my chest.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
What would you estimate? How many rats were on you?
Probably about at least a good 8 or 9.
Oh man. Okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, this is a bad deal, right?
Absolutely.
This isn't something you wanted for him.
Absolutely
No.
not.
But it was on your property.
We had no idea about rats up in the tree.
Well, you believe it's his fault.
Oh, absolutely, it's his fault.
They were supposed to have taken care of all this stuff before I
We
even
had
got
no
there.
idea that there was any
Yeah, you
rats in the
did.
trees. That's his profession. He should
He
have
should
known
know.
that.
That's and he said that he's known about rats in the tree. So why wouldn't he check it? You see how? Why would we ever
I
climb
can't really
the tree?
check it without going up there now, can I?
Well, no.
Mr.
How are
Griffin,
we
we're
supposed to know?
Y'all, we got rules here.
Sorry.
We got rules here. You direct your comments to the court.
Sorry, Your Honor.
So rats swarm out of the tree and they get on you, then what happens?
I got all these rats in my shirt, biting me. I'm trying to get down. I lose my balance. Ladders flies this way. The aperture that I
So
have.
you had a ladder down there.
Yes, sir. He was the one on the ground, basically keeping hold of it.
Bring
We always
the
have.
ladder.
Stop for a second.
Mr. and Mrs. Carter, do you all remember when this happened?
Yes, we were just coming home from a boat ride, and you can see the docks just off to the
Must be
side.
nice.
We could see that. You see, that's what this is really all about, right? You want a piece of our money.
I don't want your money. I
Folks,
want you to be held.
You gotta let me get to the truth. So please finish telling me.
Came home and we saw this rickety ladder up on the tree there, and he was climbing up it. And
Now,
she
you-
commented to me that
You see your house here with that red arrow?
Right.
That's correct,
Right there,
sir.
that
Is
tree.
that the tree he was climbing?
Yes,
Yes,
it was,
Your
Your
Honor.
Honor.
That's pretty far up, y'all.
yeah, and he should.
That's a
Well,
long
he told
fall.
us he could
He
do
told
it.
us he saw the tree. He knew his risks.
Mr. Griffin, obviously the rats are all over you. They're biting you.
Right.
You're trying to figure out what to do. At some point, you hit the ground.
Yes. And,
What was going through your head when you slammed on that ground?
Well, whenever I lost balance, the descender that I had actually caught.
When the descender catches,
Right.
it stops you, right?
It stops me from hitting the ground. It's a part of our safety procedure, so that's what we had.
So I had to
And-
hit the ground.
I run this courtroom. This is a respectful process, even though you disagree.
Sorry,
We're not
Your
going to have disrespect. You direct your comments to me. So, you hit the ground.
Yes.
You realize that you are hurt.
No, whenever I hit the ground, I was unconscious for a little while. After my cousin had helped me out, he was basically taking care of it for a little bit, and then I came to.
Okay, well, let's hear from you. Your name is Dwayne Griffin, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, come on up. Tell me what you remember happened on this day.
We did our safety checks, then secured the top anchor point and the bottom anchor point on the tree.
Okay.
With the belay device. And I proceeded to let my boss walk up the ladder. So about 5 minutes into it, he just starts screaming and yelling and he's getting erratic and he's obviously in pain. Next thing I know, he's on the ground. So
Did he hit the ground hard?
he hit the ground very hard.
Let's see, you brought some
Absolutely.
kind of apparatus with you.
So this is the industry standard harness for tree trimming.
And is this what Mr. Griffin had on that day?
This is the exact model.
Okay,
This is the front right here. It's worn around your hips.
all right,
So this is the belay device or the descender.
okay. And this belay device is to stop you from falling.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
When the belay device is engaged, this rope is not going, and this is rated for 500 pounds, Your Honor. He's
okay.
140 pounds soaking wet.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So
Me too.
when he fell off, he hung there for a second. And to disengage the device, you click the button, you flip it all the way over, which allows the rope
Then it's a free fall.
to slide.
So he's up 2+ stories,
Yes, Your Honor.
hanging with rats on him.
Yes, Your
He's screaming. They're obviously eating his flesh, right?
Your Honor.
And now he opens this device to try to get away from them.
I think in the chaos of the moment, he flipped it all the way open, which then caused him to free fall 2 stories.
You may take a seat. Thank you, so. Mr. Griffin, now you submitted some other images to the court.
Yes, sir.
I want to understand the extent of your injuries. Is this your arm before it was fixed?
That's my broken arm.
Okay, and you had some other injuries. What other injuries you had?
This is my spinal. My L2 through L5 were all broken.
So on the left where the circle is your broken back.
That's it.
After this fall. Then on the right,
That
you've
was
got
repair surgery.
surgical rods and screws in your back.
Yes.
And that's why you're suing for $150,000 in past medical.
Well, between that and
and $100,000 in future medical.
You know,
Take your time.
I had a life
Yes, sir.
before this. So when you're sitting here trying to accuse me of taking money, that I had a life. I used to ride motorcycles. Did you know I was a 3-time champion in ballroom? Does that even freaking matter to you?
It does, but you can't blame other people for your misfortune.
All right.
Mr. Griffin, this is obviously very emotional for you. What have been your thoughts about the future?
What future, Your Honor? What freaking future do I have right now with bolts in my back?
Mr. Griffin, I know you feel passionately about this. I appreciate that. You've suffered some terrible injuries, but we do it with respect, okay? Mrs. Carter, you see he's hurt really bad.
Yes, and I
Right?
feel horrible.
You can understand why this is so important to him, obviously, right?
Oh, yes, I can.
And that this happened on your property, he thinks you're responsible.
But if somebody plays Russian roulette on your property, you're not responsible for the outcome, Your Honor.
We hired him as a profession. He told us he could do the job.
Yes, ma'am.
He should have had the correct equipment, and
Yes,
he
ma'am.
should take the safety precautions he needed to take.
Yes, ma'am.
He admitted he was aware
Entire
that these things live in the trees. Then why didn't he take the proper precautions to prepare for that incident?
If y'all knew there were rats in the tree, don't you agree you have a responsibility, morally, ethically,
If we
to
knew-
tell him before you tell him to go up that tree,
Of
right?
course, yes.
Okay.
They did know, Your
Okay.
Honor.
If we knew we had rats, we would have gotten rid of them.
So, Mr. Griffin, how do you know that they knew that they had rats in these trees?
Well, if you would let me call the witness that I brought, that would probably change things.
Witness?
Sheriff Matt, I want to hear from this witness. Would you retrieve the witness from the hallway?
Yes, Your Honor.
Come on up, man.
Right to your right.
So, ma'am, state your name for the record.
My name is Veronica Marshall.
Miss Marshall, what do you know about today's case?
I've actually been the exterminator for the past 3 years for the Carter. Mr. Carter contacted me in January and explained to me that he's seen rats on his property throughout the property.
Okay.
And he wanted me to come out and check the perimeter as well as the grounds of their home.
When you say a rat problem, are you talking about 1 or 2 rats or more than that?
No, actually, when I came onto the grounds, I seen that there were several rats throughout the property. And as you can see in this work order that I have, we actually set up to have monthly visits to come throughout the month of April.
Well, this work order reads, customer reports presence of rats on property at ground level and around the perimeter of the backyard.
Still want to deny it?
That's ground level.
At the beginning of this case, you all have maintained that you didn't know anything about rats. Hold on for a minute. In a court of law, veracity, believability, and honesty of witnesses, that's the foundation. If you come into my courtroom and lie, then I disregard everything that you said because you cannot be trusted. You told me that you didn't know anything about rats. All the while, you had an exterminator out there who was supposed to come back. You can imagine that the hair on my head, or what should be there, would be standing up. You lied to me. When you come into my courtroom, do not lie. Zip it. I've heard enough.
Your Honor, she got rid of the rats. That's why she was there.
Miss Carter, you ready to go to jail?
No, Your Honor.
When I say zip it, please zip it.
We had no idea there was rats in the trees.
And
I would
why
never
didn't you take
mislead
care
you.
of
Tell me
the
that.
rats?
Did you tell Mr. Griffin about the rats in the grass?
I didn't. Did you?
On the ground?
No, I didn't.
I think I've heard enough. I'm ready to render my decision. In every personal injury case, there are 3 elements. That someone did something wrong, number 1. That wrong caused, number 2. And the third leg of a personal injury case is the wrong caused harm. Here, you're clearly harmed. I've seen your x-rays. I've seen the medical bills that you've submitted, $250,000 in past and future medical expenses. Clearly, you are in pain. These are severe injuries. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, you all are homeowners, and the law doesn't require you to be responsible simply because something bad happened on your property. But it goes further than that in this case. You had a moral and ethical responsibility to tell him there are rats on the ground. Be careful, whether you knew about rats in the trees or not. Now, Mr. Griffin, the fact is the cause of your injuries is you let yourself go into a free fall by releasing your device. The law is unforgiving. As much as I hate it, I've got to find against you because you caused your injuries. And in that regard, regardless of how I feel, I must find for the Carters and against you, Mr. Griffin. That is my final decision, and this court is adjourned. Ms. Nugent, it's my understanding from the documents that you submitted to this court that you are suing Mr. Rodriguez for an eye injury that you received at his park involving his mascot. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're asking this court to award you $36,000 in past medical bills, $14,000 for pain and suffering, for a total award of $50,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rodriguez, you believe this is not your fault. This is a freak accident, and you shouldn't be held responsible for this.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. Let's get into the legal sauce. Now, you all went to the baseball game. Are y'all a baseball family?
Yes, we are.
Tell me about that.
Well, Your Honor, we've been going to baseball games for as long as I can remember. Every year we go as a family. I'd go with my dad. We always sit in the same seats every time we go to the game behind home plate.
So really a family ritual kind
Yes,
of thing.
every year.
And Mr. Rodriguez, that's the kind of thing you want at your park, is people making it just part of their family, right?
In fact, I relate with them. You know, me personally, I grew up in the baseball family. My grandfather owned this team 50 years ago. He's the one that started this franchise. My
and this
father,
is the Bantam Rooster.
The Bantam Roosters, yes, sir. One of the things that I personally enjoy is the fact that families like the Nugents can come and enjoy, you know, a safe environment where good entertainment is gonna happen, especially with our mascot.
And your mascot's name is what?
Home Run Rue.
Home Run Rue. That's the Bantam Roosters
That's the
mascot.
Bantam Roosters mascot, yes, sir.
So y'all sit in the same spot.
Every time.
Okay, real baseball lovers. That's really what you want,
Right.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Sure is, you know, and the best part about the fact that they attend our games and the seats that they do is actually what we call Home Run Rue's Rooster's Nest.
Okay.
That's where he's stationed, and he passes out peanuts in that area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Ms. Nugent, you and your dad are sitting at the park. So on this day, tell me how this happened.
Music is playing. We're excited. My favorite player is at home plate. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Definitely not all of a sudden.
Yes, Your Honor, it was all of a sudden.
Okay.
Out of nowhere, it feels like a bag of rocks hit my eye. Like it was so painful. I had never experienced pain like that, to where I thought at first it was a baseball until I realized that it was peanuts.
You're certainly not expecting to get hit with anything when you're behind home plate.
Exactly. There's a net and everything.
Mr. Rodriguez, what's up with folks getting hit behind the backstop?
Their seats are located around 10 rows up.
Okay.
We have signs all around the stadium, and on our tickets, the ticket holder assumes all risks at our games of flying objects. I actually have the ticket here if you would like to see it, where it actually states all of the information that we try to provide for our
All right.
fans.
Sheriff Matt, if you'll get the ticket, let me take a peek at it. All right. This is the Bantam Roosters ticket. It says the carrier of this ticket assumes all risks and dangers accompanying this baseball game, including danger of being injured by thrown or batted baseballs. That's what all your tickets say.
Baseballs, not peanuts.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez, I mean, it does say baseballs, batted balls, doesn't say anything about peanuts now.
Well, that's exactly why we indicated assumes all risks and dangers accompanying this baseball game.
Well, from a legal perspective, all risks are all risks that are reasonably anticipated. When you go to a baseball game, you anticipate getting hit by a baseball, maybe. Peanuts, not so much. So I'm not sure that all risks includes peanuts legally.
We offer free peanuts. And in our stadium, especially in the area in which they were sitting, Home Run Rue actually gives peanuts to all the people in that area that request, you know, peanuts.
Did you all get the peanuts for free?
I didn't request.
Not on this day, but before,
Sure,
when you went to see
absolutely.
the Bantam Roosters, you ate the peanuts,
Sure,
right?
of course.
Sure. So,
You know-
so Home Run Rue throws the peanuts out. Those peanuts are free.
Now, the peanuts are free. Now, I'll let you know that when I spoke
Well, it's
to
been a
Mr.
tradition.
Harper,
It's been a tradition, so.
it's been a tradition for 50 years that we throw peanuts for free for our fans.
So free peanuts.
Yes,
So
sir. That day, the father, Mr. Nugent, was actually requesting peanuts. They were taunting and they were yelling at
Your
Home
Honor.
Run
Now,
Rue.
taunting how?
We expect taunting at our games. We know that it's going to happen, but it's usually happening to the opposing team, not the mascot.
So how do you taunt a mascot?
All right. Well, Mr. Harper, who I actually brought with me today, he states that the plaintiffs were yelling at him, saying that he couldn't throw that far, that he wasn't going to make the peanuts to them. And after he engaged with them visually, he decided, you know what, I'm going to give these peanuts to this family right here. And it just so happened, the father could not catch the peanuts.
Mr. Nugent, everybody's having fun. Were you interacting with Home Run Rue and saying, look, we need some peanuts, throw them to me? Well, what were you saying? Treat me like I'm Home Run Rue.
Hey, you don't like a spring chicken to me. Come on, throw it out here. Throw it over here.
Okay, and you're going back and forth with him, and then he eventually throws the peanuts to you.
Yeah.
But I didn't request peanuts, Your Honor. They came out of nowhere and hit me in the face.
Ms. Nugent, did you know that your dad was going back and forth with Home Run Rue?
I heard him going back and forth, so I saw Home Run Rue. However, Your Honor, I'm at a baseball game.
But that
I'm
has
not
nothing
there
to do
for
with it.
peanuts. I'm there to watch the games.
Was he taunting him? Because if he's taunting a mascot, I can't imagine your boyfriend going to the game with y'all.
No, Your Honor, he was not taunting. We're at a baseball game. It's loud. You have to say over here, but not taunting.
Yeah, but I can't imagine y'all were out there saying, Home Run Rue, may I request a bag of peanuts, please?
Well, not so
Right?
formal, but you can ask without taunting. My father wasn't taunting him.
Well, it seems to me if I'm Home Run Rue and you say, look, you throw like a little kid. You can't throw them over here. Give me those nuts. Give me those nuts. I'm going to throw them hard.
We weren't saying things like that.
Well, let me hear from Home Run Rue himself. That's James Harper.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harper, would you stand up, please? Sir. How long have you been Home Run Rue?
I've been Home Run Rue for the last 5 years. I've actually played for this baseball organization, and when I retired, I became the mascot.
Well, you know what, Your Honor, he may be a rooster, but he is no spring chicken. And apparently, like, you see that mask right
Yes,
there?
ma'am.
He probably couldn't even see out of it, which made his aim
that
off.
would make two of
Well,
us.
let me find that out. Let me find that out.
Well, it was a very
Mr.
bad
Harper.
day that day. It was sweaty. Yeah, I think
Right, he could have
I think
got
he
sweat in his
slipped
face.
and
Let me hear
paused.
from Home Run Rue. Mr. Harper.
Yes, sir.
When you have this headpiece on and the body piece, you become Home Run Rue, right?
Absolutely.
Now, as Home Run Rue, you got to look out of this thing and see people, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember this incident, seeing these folks in the stand when you had that headpiece on?
I do.
And tell me what happened.
Well, you know, it was a normal day, baseball game. I was passing out peanuts to fans.
Passing them out?
Slightly tossing them.
Okay.
So Mr. Nugent and Mrs. Nugent were heckling me. Once they started taunting me, the crowd started getting involved and started cheering them on, telling me, yo, you can't make it. You throw like a girl. You can't reach it all the way up here. So then Mr. Nugent over here puts his hands in the air like he's ready to receive the peanuts. I toss them underhand to him, hit him directly in the hands. The bag of peanuts slipped through his hands and ended up hitting his daughter in the eye.
Your Honor, his aim
Mr. Nugent, did you try to catch the peanuts?
I was trying to protect my daughter, and I didn't want to hit her in the eye. Just playing catch.
But he threw them so hard, and his aim was off.
Your Honor.
Did he throw them hard, Mr. Nugent?
He threw them hard.
Did you throw those peanuts hard?
Your Honor, it was an underhand toss that hit him directly in his hands. But Butterfingers over here let him slip through his hands, and then they ended up hitting his daughter in the face.
Well, how big of a bag of peanuts are we talking about?
Well, you know, Your Honor, I actually brought a bag of peanuts and a radar gun, so we could actually show you if you like a demonstration.
I would like to see that.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
Put the gloves on, and I want you to put the headpiece on too. And because I don't want you to injure Sheriff Matt, I'd like you to throw them to your boss.
Watch out, Dad.
Step aside.
Give me your best, because they're 10 rows up.
Exactly.
I need my peanuts.
27, Judge.
That's moving, guys.
Now
that's
mine.
moving.
Right.
That's not a toss. That's a fastball.
Exactly.
All right, you may take the headpiece off and the gloves, and you may return back to the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Rodriguez, I mean, this is not a small item. These peanuts are hard.
Exactly.
And they're traveling 10, 15 feet at 20-something miles an hour.
Right. Thank you.
So, Ms. Nugent, you have a detached retina
Yes, Your
and a
Honor.
damaged eye.
Yes.
What are you going through?
My vision is not the same as it used to be. I can't even do simple things like drive myself around anymore. I have to get somebody else to drive me around. I was a flight attendant, and I can't go to work pushing a cart down an aisle looking like a pirate. Like, I can't go to work like that.
Are you serious?
Really? That is so disrespectful.
Did you just laugh about this?
Very disrespectful.
Mr. Harper, you're the one that threw the peanuts. You damaged a woman's eye, and you have the nerve to come in my courtroom and laugh about it? Sir, please sit down. Ms. Nugent, I'm looking at your medical bills here. You have a lot of them. It's $36,000. You've asked this court to award you $14,000 for pain and suffering. What's your biggest worry about this eye?
I will never, ever be able to have my full vision again, and that I could possibly go completely blind in my eye. And so my dad has been great and is helping as much as he can, but he can only do so much.
If your father can catch a bag of peanuts, I wouldn't be here losing my job.
Mr. Harper, get out of my courtroom. Get him out of here.
Are you serious? Are you?
Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down.
To understand your eye injury, we must hear from an ophthalmologist, and this court has consulted Dr. Lauren Yancey. Sheriff Matt, will you bring Dr. Yancey into the courtroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good day, doctor. Dr. Yancey, what is a detached retina?
Well, the retina is a thin layer of tissue that lines the back of the eye, and it really acts like the film in the camera. It's what actually captures the picture and allows that picture to be transmitted to your brain. When the retina is torn, it can start as a small tear that can gradually progress and cause complete peeling of the retina off the back of the wall of the eye, much like wallpaper can come down if just the corner's torn up. As the retina begins to detach, it might seem like just some flashing lights and some floaters in the beginning. Now, if the retina becomes completely detached, then there's a complete loss of vision.
Well, what's the recovery time for this kind of thing?
It can vary depending on the extent of how much retina has actually torn away from the back of the eye. If it's a small tear, it can be something that only requires several weeks of recovery after surgery. However, if the entire retina detaches, that's a pretty extensive repair and can take months, sometimes years, to reach full visual potential, and that may never be the same.
Is it possible that slowly throwing a bag of peanuts like this could hit someone and detach their retina?
Enough blunt trauma to an eye can cause a detachment. I've had even a patient where their spouse rolled over in bed and just their hand flapping over at night caused a retinal detachment. However, I think the right hit from any blunt trauma can cause a detachment.
All right, thank you, doctor. You are released. Mr. Nugent, you've been quiet most of this day.
Yes, sir.
Looking back on this, do you feel a little bit responsible for your daughter's injuries?
I do, sir. I feel bad for not catching the peanuts. To see her in such pain is heartbreaking.
So you assume responsibility?
I shall not assume responsibility because this is your fault. This guy is working for you. He blew it. He blew it, sir.
The toss or the catch? What was blown?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Ms. Nugent, Mr. Nugent, Mr. Rodriguez, I've heard everything I need to hear, and I'm ready to make my decision. Folks, the plaintiff has to prove basically three things. The plaintiff, you, Ms. Nugent, have to prove that Mr. Rodriguez was wrong and that his wrong caused your terrible eye injury. Here today, you've put up evidence that it was Run Rue that threw the peanuts to your dad. They went through his hands and hit you in the eye and changed your life forever. So this is not your fault. Here, Mr. Rodriguez, there are plenty of folks that catch peanuts, plenty of folks that interact with Run Rue. This should have been just another family day. This is what happens at baseball parks. Things fly. You believe Home Run Rue throwing the peanuts is just what folks do, and it's Mr. Nugent's fault that his daughter's eye got injured, but not yours. The law looks at the timing of incidents. That is, things where they happen, what happens before and after a given time means something. These events are as follows. Home Run Rue sees your dad says, throw some peanuts. He throws the peanuts. The speed doesn't matter. Your dad tries to catch the peanuts and they hit you in the eye. The law looks at what's the last responsible cause for your injuries. In proving wrong caused harm, you clearly are harmed. The peanuts caused your injury, but the last event in this chain is your dad trying to catch them. Because he did not catch the peanuts, as much as it pains me to find against you, I must, because your dad is responsible for your injuries. And in that regard, I find for the defendant. That is my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned.